They start just a stone's throw from the deep blue of the Mediterranean Sea in the port of Savona and are almost immediately engulfed by the green hills of Liguria. After crossing the motorway, they glide between the Apennines and Alps on strong cables that glisten in the light like silver wire, running over the woods with a gentle hiss before reaching San Giuseppe di Cairo Montenotte and the end of the line. The Savona-San Giuseppe ropeways transport coal and other minerals arriving in Savona by sea. When they reach San Giuseppe di Cairo Montenotte, the materials are stored, processed and forwarded to factories for use. The system is operated by the Funivia Alto Tirreno, a joint stock company owned by Italgas in the Eni group. The complex system is divided into three parts: the ship unloading and bucket loading area in the port of Savona, the two 18-kilometer cables, the storage and rail yard at San Giuseppe, from where the materials are forwarded to cement works, power stations, foundries, glass factories, chemical plants and other factories. The idea of connecting the port of Savona with San Giuseppe by ropeways dates back to the start of the century. Two young engineers, Antonio Carissimo and Giovanni Crotti, hit on the idea to clear the bottleneck in the port of Savona caused by the enormous amount of coal needed in North Italy. The project for the ropeways was first presented in 1903, but the work involved was immense, and it took 7 years to overcome organizational and financial hurdles and set up the first company, the Transport de Savone, originally funded with Belgian capital. The system was designed and built almost exactly as we can see it today. The station in Savona was located on the north side of the port area, and silos with a total capacity of 10,000 tons were built to store the coal temporarily. Port workers unloaded the coal from ships onto barges by hand using baskets. The barges were then towed to the silos and lifted by huge cranes, allowing the coal to drop from the open bottoms into the temporary storage area before transportation by the ropeways. The ropeway itself is the longest in Europe. The steel buckets cross Liguria in silence, climbing Cadibona Hill and dropping to the Bormida Valley before finally reaching San Giuseppe di Cairo. As they cross the Apennines, they rise to a height of 520 meters on their big 50mm diameter cables. The cables are supported by 214 pylons up to 35 meters high, clinging to the hillsides in the heart of the pine and chestnut woods. The terminal station storage yard had a capacity of 200,000 tons. And from here, the coal was transported by a railway siding to San Giuseppe station across the Bormida River, handling 400 wagons a day. A daring system for the time. Even engineer and writer Carlo Emilio Gadda wrote about the ropeways in admiring tones, hailing it as an invention of the future. And he was right. The first major upgrading was in 1926. Ships were no longer unloaded by hand, but by 4 powerful grab unloaders running along the new unloading wharf built at the Miramare station and still operating today. The 140-meter-long wharf was built next to the silos. Each unloader had a capacity of 3,500 kilograms of coal a minute. This meant a ship of 5,000 to 6,000 tons could be unloaded in 24 hours rather than 10 days. In 1937, a second cable was installed with identical characteristics to the first. After the war, When most communication arteries had been put out of action, the Savona-San Giuseppe ropeways played a decisive role in the return to normal production in North Italy. The ship unloading system was upgraded still further, and the capacity of the San Giuseppe yard was increased to 600,000 tons. Today, unloading capacity is 1,300 tons per hour, enabling a 25,000-ton ship to be unloaded in just 2 days. As unloading capacity exceeds the transportation capacity of the ropeways, the intermediate Miramare silos were built for temporary storage. The ropeways never stop, running right through the night to transport the coal and other bulk materials in the stockyards. Both lines were upgraded with modern fast motors at the end of the 1970s, when the intermediate stations were automated. And since then, the buckets travel at 3.5 meters a second. The line is still divided into 5 loops, and the buckets must be uncoupled from one loop and coupled to the next 4 times before they complete their journey. Stainless steel buckets have recently been installed to facilitate cleaning and maintenance. The San Giuseppe Station stockyards and rail yards cover a total of 25 hectares, the same as the total wharf area in the port of Savona. Here the buckets are emptied automatically by this mechanism, which upturns them onto the conveyor belt. The belt runs on gantries over the stockyards, allowing the goods to be unloaded in any area of the park. All these operations have been upgraded recently and are now supervised from a computerized control room that tracks materials from arrival to final forwarding. The system also performs a number of important material selection operations. Coal and other bulk materials are passed through grates to grade them into stacks with different characteristics. This requires a lot of space and can only be done in San Giuseppe. Certain materials are sent for milling to reduce the size. The temperature of the coal in the stockyard is also monitored, and if it is too high, the stacks are divided to prevent overheating. The final stage is forwarding to the customer. The Cairo stockyards are served by an internal rail network more than 17 kilometers long and a connection to the national system. For Savona and the industry it serves, the system provides a key service. It prevents the port of Savona from being submerged by mountains of bulk materials. It removes 400 trucks a day in each direction from the roads. It represents a third mountain rail crossing with a capacity equivalent to 20 trains in each direction, when the current 2-track line between Savona and San Giuseppe has an excess capacity of just 11. It is also friendly to the environment, creating no noise and dust and leaving nature unscathed throughout its 18-kilometer path. The direct connection between the coast and the Bormida Valley has also encouraged industrial development in the valley. In the late 1930s, a coke plant and a big chemicals factory were set up, and a factory to produce iron alloys was built in the 1970s.